everyone, David Ryshpan here again on YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share tips for improving the efficiency of your practice time. We are in December of 2024 when I'm filming this video, and here in Montreal in the colleges and universities we are deep into exam period, and so I have been seeing a lot of my students needing to improve or practicing a lot in a very condensed period of time. And I just wanted to share some advice about how to optimize your practice time, optimize your growth, your musical growth in a condensed period of time, and just talk about some of the common issues I saw this week working with various students, both in piano and in voice. If you enjoy the content on this channel, please click like and subscribe. So many of you who have been watching are still not yet subscribed, and it really helps the channel. So if you could click all the little buttons below the video, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing that I think people need to come to grips with is that in the practice room, you're not supposed to sound good. The practice room is a space where we have the license and the permission to work on things, where nobody's really going to hear us, nobody's going to hear our process, nobody is there judging us. It is us working on things in order to improve. We are here to work. We are here to push ourselves, to improve ourselves, to try new things, to come to grips with things that we don't already have in our playing. Whether it's pre-composed music, written music, or improvised music, we're trying to deal with things that are technical challenges, rhythmic challenges, harmonic challenges, improvisational challenges. We're trying to improve ourselves, to better ourselves. So of course we're going to be trying to do things that we can't yet do. And just to emotionally come to grips with the fact that in the practice room we're not going to sound great. Just to kind of wrap our head around that is the first thing towards really being able to allow yourself to improve and allow yourself the space to progress. Allow yourself the space to make mistakes, because the best teacher is in how we correct our mistakes. One thing I say to my students a lot is I don't care about the mistake. I care about how we fix the mistake. And what I mean by that is increasingly over the past, I would say 5 to 10 years, when students of mine make a mistake, I hear a lot of this. So I'm going to play a C major scale, and at some point I'm going to make some kind of mistake. Okay, so I made a mistake. The real question, the real issue here is not that I made a mistake. The issue and the thing that will improve and optimize your growth in the practice room is to methodically identify and fix the mistake, right? So what did I play? I played this. So was the mistake physical? Was it in my fingering, or was it a mistake of the note? Right hand's fine, both fingering and note-wise. Left hand. The fingering was right, but my thumb played C sharp instead of C. What I hear a lot from students is this. The problem with fixing the mistake that way is that you've just played a whole bunch of additional wrong information before you've landed on the thing that is correct. Whether it's the right note, the right rhythm, the right harmony, the right chord, whatever the right thing is in your practice time, you've just polluted the air and your ears and your hands with a whole bunch of other wrong information. So you haven't programmed yourself to understand the mistake was X And the fix, the correction, is Y. You've played Z, A, B, C, D, F, and the connection between X was the mistake, Y is the correction, has now been broken. What I like to do with my students and what I like to do in my own practice time is I just stop and I freeze frame where I've made the mistake. So now I'm looking at all the elements of what could possibly be wrong. Was it my fingering that's wrong? Well, no, the left hand's playing the thumb and the right hand's playing the pinky. That's what I meant to do. Oh, but my left hand thumb is on C sharp, not on C. It should be on C. So then when I play it again, the next attempt, the next pass at the material is the right thing. I have corrected the problem immediately. And so I have built a link in my brain and my hands and my ears that I made a mistake and this was the mistake. I've identified what the mistake was. And then the next thing I played was the correction of the mistake. So I have built into my hands and my ears and my brain that if I do this, it really should have been this other thing. And I have made a link of the error and the correction. The next tip to optimize your practice time and basically make your improvement grow exponentially, in my experience, is to record yourself. And it can be audio only, it can be video and audio, depending on what you're working on and what you need to fix, what you need to correct, what you're tackling in your practice time. And I know it's tough to listen to ourselves. I know it's really, really difficult. I know nobody likes to do it. It's like when you hear your own voice on a recording for the first time. It's a really disconcerting, troubling thing to do. I've talked about this in a previous video, and for improvised music especially, it's so important and so vital to record yourself. And even for composed music, written music, whether it's a transcription or a classical piece or some kind of written composed material, whatever it is, I think recording yourself is also really important. And the reason for me has always been that when we're playing, when we're in the moment, we lose objectivity. We're focused on a bunch of different things. We're listening to ourselves. We're focused on our fingering. We're whatever else is going on in the moment. It's very hard for us to realize all of the details in real time. But then when we go back and listen to a recording, then we can put the recording under the microscope the way we would if we were transcribing somebody else's solo, or if we were listening to somebody else, if we were judging somebody else's audition or exam or whatever, right? We can really put the recording under the microscope in a way that we don't have the perspective to do to ourselves in real time. So we can get more out of the recording than we can live in the practice room. And then that becomes fuel for the next day's practice routine. We can make notes about, oh, I liked what I did in that chorus of that tune. I didn't like what I did in that chorus of that tune. I messed up in this bar. I played this bar really well. Oh, I remember feeling like that was good, but in listening back to it, it wasn't. I remember feeling like that was bad, but in listening back to it, it wasn't so bad. And so in addition to being able to find all the details for our future practice routine that we were unable to hear in real time, we're also building the muscle of being able to hear things in real time. I mentioned in another video on the channel where when I'm improvising, sometimes it feels like I'm watching over my own shoulder, and building that muscle, building that instinct or perspective of having just a tiny bit of distance, of being able to remember what I've played when I've improvised, and then being able to see all these other variations, all these other possibilities based on what I just improvised. That came from recording myself. And from recording myself, listening to myself, recording myself, listening to myself, doing that repeatedly really built that muscle and that awareness where now it feels like I'm looking over my own shoulder, or I'm watching myself play, you know. And that, again, that only came out of recording myself. Even just the growth in my YouTube channel over the past year, and how I feel talking to the camera, how I feel in creating these videos, I feel much more at ease, and I have learned from the mistakes that I made 4 years ago when I started creating content for this channel, the mistakes I made at the beginning of the year when I restarted uploading to this channel, and I literally see the growth, you know, and that just comes from recording yourself. One thing I almost forgot to mention in this video that I feel is extremely important is to have a distinction between practice and performance, and to always reserve time in your practice routine to practice performance. What do I mean by that? So, especially in improvised music, but also in composed music, to leave time in your practice routine to just play without stopping and to simulate whatever you would do on stage. A lot of the exercises I work on, a lot of the exercises I give to my students are not musical in the slightest. They are boring, they are repetitive, they are dull, they are completely unmusical. And I don't want to perform that way. I don't want to be caught up in regurgitating something I've practiced. If something I've practiced comes out, it'll come out in a more natural sort of flow state kind of way. In no way when I am performing am I ever thinking,
oh, let me play that lick I just practiced for 7 hours this week.
I never want to be thinking that way. I never want that to be my mindset when I'm performing. When I'm performing, when I'm improvising, I want to be reactive to the moment. I want to be reactive to the band around me. I want to be reactive to the crowd and the public. So it's really, really vital that in our daily practice routine, we practice performing. We spend 10, 15 minutes playing the piece without stopping, improvising without stopping, being in the moment, being cognizant of what we're playing, but not being stuck in our own heads. Really, as Matt Wilson, the great drummer, calls it, allowing the moment to happen. So yeah, practice performing, and then perform. When I finished my undergrad in jazz piano many years ago, it was the first time in my musical career, my musical life, that I wasn't accountable to a teacher on a weekly basis. I was only accountable to myself. And the best way I found to become accountable to myself was to be incredibly specific about what I was trying to do, what I was trying to practice. And this becomes additionally important if you're an improvising musician and you're working on improving your improvisational skills, if you're trying to improve your improvisational vocabulary. Improvising music in general is a very subjective and personal endeavor. And so the more objective we can be about what we're trying to learn, what we're trying to improve, and objective about our own growth, the better it is. We take ourselves out of it in a way. It's very easy when we don't succeed at doing something, when we make a mistake in our practice time, for the criticisms to become very personal. And what I encourage my students to do, and what I encourage everybody to do, is to go beyond that step of that was bad, that was wrong, that sucked, whatever it is, and to identify the component part or component parts of what we didn't succeed in doing. What is it exactly that we are trying to achieve in our practice time? What is it that we're trying to improve? And the more specific we can be about what we're trying to improve, then we can isolate those things in our practice time, and it becomes very clear whether we've done it or not. Let's use the example of a vocalist who wants to improve in their traditional jazz, scat singing, wordless improvising. And let's say that the weakness is in their rhythm. Their intonation is great. Their pitch is really good. They know the harmony. They can sing the arpeggios of the chords. They know where they are in the form. But it's just that the time and the swing and the groove is their weak link. Just identifying that is a great first step and incredibly important, as opposed to being a little bit helpless and thinking,
oh, I'm not good at scat. I don't know why I'm not good at scat. I don't know how to improve. I don't know where it is.
Just identifying the variable or the primary variable of where your weakness is, amazing place to start. Once we identify, for example, that the weakness is rhythm, I would take the voice out of it and just see where they're at rhythmically with their hands, playing with a metronome, playing on their chest, speaking lyrics, whatever, taking the improvisation part out of it, taking the scat syllable part out of it, taking the navigating changes while improvising part out of it, and just see where their rhythmic sense is at. Let's say they sing the melody great, they can clap and speak in time, but it's really when they're improvising and really when they're scatting that's where the time is weaker. What that would suggest to me is maybe the syllables that they use don't have enough articulation, enunciation, or attack on the front of it. So they're relying on the vowel, and vowels by their nature are inarticulate. If they're doing a lot of vowel heavy syllables that have no hard consonant in the front, that's the thing that I would fix, is get them to put hard consonants in the front of their syllables. I don't care about the vowel. I don't care about anything else. And just have them speak syllables with hard consonants in the front in time with a metronome. And from there, you can start to add back in all the other elements of being a great scat singer. You can add back in the pitch. You can add back in the form of the tune. You can add back in all the other layers, because now we've identified the main variable where they were weakest. And the more objective you can be, the more isolated and objective you can be in your practice goal, the easier it is for you to track in real time, I achieved this, no, I didn't achieve this. And you take yourself and your ego out of it. It becomes a sport in a way. It becomes the stopwatch. It is something objective to determine whether you did it or not. And if you didn't do it, there's no judgment. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you didn't do it, beyond the fact that you didn't achieve what you set out to achieve. You need to practice it more. That's all. doesn't mean you're a terrible improviser, doesn't mean you're a terrible person. And just taking the self and the ego out of the practice and just being, I'm not a huge fan of the word strict, but being strict and being clear and being precise about what our goals are, allow us to become better improvisers, better musicians, and allow us to track our progress in real time more accurately. I hope that helps you in your practice time as we wrap up exam season, as we go into the holidays, and as we enter 2025. If you have any questions or comments about things that have helped you in your practice time, questions about these concepts that I've outlined in this video, let's have a discussion in the comments. Once again, please click like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. My name's David Ryshpan. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.